Welcome to the Quick Stop Formula One podcast. My name is Nyasha, and you could have been anywhere in the world, but you're here with us, and we appreciate that. Joining me, as ever, is my co-host and co-founder, Queen of F1 Punditry, Thandie Sabanda. How is it going?
It's what time at the moment? It's like
It is 10:30 in the
10.
evening.
I've got so much to say. So much to say.
I respect it. And look, we have got an intriguing race to break down today, and we've got some technical issues to break down today.
Mm,
And you know
mm.
what? We have got the perfect guest for that. Okay, guys, this guy, he's an aerospace engineering graduate. Okay, this guy he knows a thing. And he's applying that knowledge to F1, and he just makes complicated things very simple to understand. He's got great F1 knowledge. It's so cool to have on the show today, all the way from America, Bryson Sullivan. How are you?
I have to admit, I am responsible for the late hour of recording, so thank you guys for being accommodating.
No. It is fine. Obviously we're all the way in America this time around, so this is the times for you guys. And I was saying to Nyasha before that you guys have to get up super early normally to watch a race, so it must be actually very nice to kind of just be at normal times.
It is very nice, but sometimes you get in this mode of just being used to getting up early. I've definitely been up at like 4:30 in the morning for free practice one on a Friday sometimes, but it's a little bit nicer to have a slightly more normal time frame this time.
I like that.
No, I love it. And I guess what would be really cool to know is how did you get into F1? Have you always been into F1? It's always cool, especially I guess with the American fans, to hear how they kind of get into it, and because it's just I think it's a sport which has taken its time to get over to America, but obviously, as Sky would not shut up about, has exploded in America quite clearly with with how the race and the crowd were today. So how did you get into F1, Bryson?
What a weird story that is. I am not a normal person. Basically, the way I got into F1 was entirely by accident, actually. I mean, I had been aware of racing in the past in general, very cool. But I was actually, convinced by some of my friends to go to a race in person for the first time. And that was my first exposure at all to Formula One. It it just so happened to be the 2005 US Grand Prix that I went to for the first time in Indianapolis, which is kind of a famous race for a number of reasons. But actually, even though that was only 6 cars racing and, Tiago Montero was on the podium, the performance of the cars stood out to me. The sound stood out to me. The atmosphere of a race environment stood out to me. And I just kind of been in love with F1 ever since then, really. I mean, my undergraduate is in mechanical engineering, and I kind of had a love for cars and enjoyed doing that. But I didn't really push it quite as far until more recently. I've always kind of been a casual fan, so to speak. Definitely a fan of Lewis Hamilton from day one, from day zero, actually. But actually, the thing about it is, it just has grown slowly over time, and I don't think it really has been until the most, maybe the last year and a half at most, where I really started to get into it at a much more detailed level, and starting to realize that I can explain some things to some people that may not have a technical training or technical background. I'm by no means the smartest person about F1, but if I understand enough of it to be able to communicate that in a way that other people can understand, then I'm more than happy to do it.
That's super cool, man. A really cool way to get into it. And I guess once we've got you here, and as you say, when you can understand things, we've had a weekend, I would say, of a slow burner of a weekend, and it's been intriguing all throughout, from the moment Mercedes turned up to track, or I say we, like we were there, we were not there. But the moment F1 turned up to Austin and touchdown, and Mercedes pace in FP1, being like a second, well, I think 1.2 ahead of Max. Questions were raised about the suspension, and wow, is this were we looking at a DAS moment where Mercedes are coming with some kind of really crazy technological advancement, and Red Bull wanted to investigate that. It turned out to be completely legal, and Sky seemed to wanted to make a big deal out of it. But I guess for those at home who are aware of it or who weren't aware of it, I guess what were Mercedes doing with their suspension, and I guess why was it a point of interest this weekend?
Yeah, so we think about Formula One cars and we think about the aero that they have. The real reason why they have these amazing wings and diffusers and barge boards is to make downforce. But you only really need downforce in the corners. You don't need downforce in a straight line. But the thing is, whenever you're generating lift, you're also generating drag. In aerodynamic terms, we call this induced drag. So really, anytime you're generating downforce, there's going to be a drag penalty that you don't really want. So if it were possible to dump the downforce and therefore dump the drag on the straights, there's lap time to be gained in that. That's kind of why DRS is so effective. We don't need the downforce; we can just use it. The question about Mercedes and their suspension is that, of course, all cars, when they're loaded with aerodynamic force, are going to squat on the ground just because the aero is pushing them into the ground. What people seem to be having an eye for was the non-linear way in which the compression happened. I think everyone's used to the way the cars rebound under braking because you lose speed so quickly it jumps back up. But what was kind of catching people's eye, I'm not going to say who it was on Sky, but what was kind of catching someone's eye
I know,
on
I know
Sky.
whose eye it caught, and it's a fraud. But we won't carry on.
We won't get into that right now. But what was how easily it was collapsing at the higher speeds and how non-linearly it was collapsing. What I would say about that is, this effect has been done for many, many years, and I think varying teams have used it to a different degree. The point that you mentioned about whether or not it's legal, as long as it's entirely mechanically or aerodynamically actuated, there's nothing illegal about having nonlinear suspension geometry and things. I think the question is, how much of a benefit can you actually get from this? Is your car's rake very high or is it very low? There's a differing amount of drag reduction you can get from doing this. And again, what you're actually doing when you allow the car to squat right on the ground is you're actually stalling the diffuser. So this diffuser, which makes it possible to have this incredibly fast moving air underneath the car, if the flow is not attached to the surface, if it separates, you lose all that downforce. And so instead of that happening by accident, they're doing it on purpose. What I think makes it a little bit hard is that you don't want your diffuser stalling in the middle of a high-speed corner because you'll end up in the wall very quickly. So
Yeah.
there's something about that they're tuning to be able to actually stall the diffuser at a very precise speed, which makes it really a cool piece of engineering.
And I think it's quite cool with F1. F1's one of those things. I admittedly could never explain what you just explained in the way you've explained it, but I really appreciate the
Yeah,
technological.
'cause I appreciate the more like engineering side
Yeah,
of all, and it's very interesting. Very interesting.
very, and I
Yeah,
think it's the way that these engineers are constantly pushing.
to like
Yeah,
adapt.
yeah, exactly. I think it's just.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's incredible. And I think again, it's just cool to see Mercedes, doing something, to try and get an advantage. I think, especially considering, they haven't brought any upgrades. I guess it'd be cool to get your thoughts on that. What are your thoughts on the philosophies of the two teams this year with regards to upgrading? Red Bull, I guess, pretty much up until Zandvoort, maybe even beyond that, were bringing updates to the car. Mercedes, I think, had one upgrade in Silverstone, and that was it. And their whole thing has just been trying to get the car in an operable window. But what are your thoughts on the two approaches? Do you think Mercedes have thrown this championship? Do you think they're right to concentrate on next year? What's the risk reward for you in that sense?
Yeah, I was definitely the first in line to complain audibly about Mercedes focusing on 2022. I was extremely peeved by that, but I understand the calculus that they're using to try to maximize the overall number of championships they can win. That being said, they didn't really give up on 2021. They actually have brought some things. They were testing out a new front wing in Sochi and Turkey a little bit as well. But what I have noticed about the philosophy difference between Red Bull and Mercedes, Red Bull seems to be interested more in constant incremental developments, and Mercedes seems to be interested in a fewer number, but potentially more impactful developments. As you can remember, and when we were watching this championship in Austria, Austria one, Austria two, watching Red Bull waltz away with speed, just tremendous speed. Mercedes wasn't even close. And then in Silverstone, they won the traditional pole. Those would have gotten pole if it was actual normal qualifying, but they were actually really quick, and they've been much more on the pace as time has gone on. So what I think I'm seeing from Mercedes is it is true that they're not bringing developments with the same speed and consistency that Red Bull is, but it seems like the ones they're actually bringing are having a bigger impact on their effective race pace. And even this weekend, you mentioned the second potentially of speed advantage that Mercedes had over Red Bull in qualifying and practice one. There are at least two things going on there that I think are important to talk about. Number one, Red Bull was having some serious setup issues in the first session of this race weekend that they seem to have gotten their handle on Saturday morning, and then in qualifying going forward. They've just had excellent pace ever since then. However, we
Yeah.
know that the bumps at Coda are a serious problem. Red Bull had a cracked rear wing, I think, in
Yeah,
earlier practice that
they
they had
did.
to fix. Mercedes their cars were getting beat up as well. So Mercedes deliberately made the choice to beefen up certain parts of their car and to maybe even increase the ride height a little bit in the car to allow it to not take so much of a beating from the curbs and the bumps. And effectively that loses you lap time. Running the car lower allows you to have more downforce, all other things being considered. And so you're kind of trading reliability for performance effectively. Red Bull seems to have gone more on one side of that balance than Mercedes has.
Yeah. I've looked, Andy. I know you also were pretty vocal about the lack of upgrades. Do you think it's going to come back to haunt Mercedes, or do you think they've got it in hand?
I think we got a bit cocky, didn't we, guys? We got a bit too big for our boots, you know. At first, I was like, obviously, really like, oh, yeah, you know, my guys, look at us. We're not doing any upgrades. This is when I didn't actually quite understand until Bryson's actually just explained that the benefits of all this stuff.
Mm.
Um, yeah, and then throughout the season, I was like, this is a bit mad. We could have
It
done with some
is.
upgrades.
Yeah,
And I want them. Don't get me wrong. I want more upgrades.
Yeah.
I understand the thought process that they're going through. And again, if you had told me at the end of the first day of winter testing that the W12 would be as competitive as it actually is today, I would not believe you. I wouldn't
Yeah,
believe you at all.
I
They've made
agree.
tremendous strides in making a car that actually can compete with the Red Bull that's being developed continuously. So that's something.
Yeah, I think so. And essentially, we're looking at a team that I think will get to the end of the season, and I think Mercedes will still not know how to set up this car. I think the what's unfortunate is they probably had something in mind for this year, and then the regulation change with the rake has really just, I think, caught them. I wouldn't say off guard, but I would say that the detriment to their setup is, I don't think I've ever seen Mercedes struggle from session to session with setup as they have this season, track to track, tracks which were traditional Mercedes walkovers, really struggling. And I guess that brings us quite nicely to this weekend. So for those of you who obviously you're tuning in at home, welcome. Subscribe to the YouTube, follow us on Spotify, give us a rating on Apple. You guys will be aware that Max Verstappen has taken victory at the US Grand Prix. You can tell that Max Verstappen took a win because it's taken us 15 minutes to acknowledge it. But but he did win today. It was, I would say, and look, you know what? Yeah, I want to address a couple of things. One, okay, Twitter seems to have it in mind that I'm just this absolutely like fanatical Hamilton fanboy. I am,
Are
okay.
you?
That
Are
I
you?
am, okay. I am. That is true. That part is true. But I can be objective, and yes, we will say nasty things about Mags and Red Bull because we don't like them. But what we can say, and what I will say, is today was probably the most impressive I've seen Verstappen. And I would say that Austria, obviously, he was impressive, but I think there was a very clear car advantage. I, I do think they had a car advantage today. I think it was a lot closer, but I think for him, I guess setting the scene, he's jumped at the start. He's then, hounding Hamilton. He's obviously quicker on the medium tyres, staying within 7 or 8 tenths per second. Red Bull pit him early onto hards. He opens up by the time Hamilton comes in, he's opened up, I think, around a maybe 6 or 7 second gap. And then Hamilton starts to eat into that gap. He gets to within maybe 2.5 seconds, 2 seconds, and Red Bull pulls the trigger again on lap 30 or 29 or 30, essentially leaving him with 26 laps to do the rest of his stint on hards. Mercedes don't pull the trigger until I think lap 39 or so, 38, 39. So they have a nine lap offset, and the plan is to close down what was a 7 second gap to Max. They were thinking it was going to happen in the last 3 laps. It doesn't happen. The gap gets close. It gets close. At some points, Max, I think, opened up a little 1/10 here, 2/10 there. Lewis obviously struggling in the dirty air and never actually able to get into DRS at all in that last stint, which was not expected. And Max takes the win. So, Thandie, I'll come to you. I know what your thoughts are. We've had our own little cry before we came online, but Bryson, how impressed are you with Max and I think and Red Bull as well today?
Yeah, if you starting with Red Bull, if you think of how far off the pace they were at the beginning of the weekend, to come back and be that good is pretty impressive. As far as Max goes, this is Lewis Hamilton we're talking about, chasing you down with fresher tires at the end of a race with a championship on the line. That's pressure, right? I promise
Yeah,
you, nine drivers out of 10 will fold in a situation like that. They will make a mistake, they
yeah.
will lock up, they will do something, and Lewis will beat them. Lewis will beat them. That he's done it so many times before, and if there was even a sniff, a little hint that he could get him, he would have gotten him for sure.
Yeah.
So yeah, Max did a great job today in terms of not only having the pace advantage that you said, but working within the strategy, but actually fending off the pressure that Lewis put on him. That's pretty impressive.
Yeah, it was very, very impressive. Thandie, I'm gonna ask you a question. I'm looking at our Twitter right now, and it's going off as per usual. Thank you, everyone, for your interaction over
For
this
your
weekend.
interactions.
We love it. A few messages about the Mercedes strategy. Do you think that there was any more that Mercedes could have
No,
done today?
no, no. Guys, yes, sometimes we can blame strategy. This time round, guys, let me swallow my pride and say we had two very good drivers, and the outcome was a good driver with good strategy, and we simply couldn't do it.
Can do it.
Sometimes it's not every day you blame people, because then we become those people. We become
Yeah, I
those
like
people
that.
who, oh God, like we become Man United, or like, do you know what I mean?
That's for the United fans. Sorry, Bryce. I don't know if you're into soccer. I
No,
guess.
I'm learning so much about
Yeah.
UK. I saw that Jeremy Clarkson interview with Lewis from 2013, where he was saying, "Oh, you're going to Mercedes, isn't that like going from, Man United to West Ham?"
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I'm learning all kinds of stuff. I mean, what's
Ironically, like Mercedes, West Ham are now good and Man United are crap. So
yeah. Listen,
hold that.
things come around and they go around. But what I would say about the strategy is this was a race that was won by the finest of margins. You think it was won
Yes.
by like 1.1 seconds. No, that's not true. It was
No.
won by less than that, because if Lewis had gotten ever so slightly closer to Max, he would have been in DRS range. So this race was probably won by 2 or 3 tenths if you actually get down to it.
Yeah. Yeah. So I've just been tweeted. Tomo's just said many L's were taken on the predictions front. I took an L because I predicted a Lewis win. Whoa, I don't want to know that now, bro. I'm recording a podcast, bro. Thank you for letting me know. Big up, Tomo. But
Tom's
yeah,
great.
he is great. He is so good. And I believe we'll keep that intact. I'm pretty sure he's on next week. Yeah, yeah, hi, surprise. So, yeah, we Mercedes. For me, I've come on this show and I have said it. Mercedes' strategy, I think, has cost points this season. I think back to France and not, the undercut was quite clearly on for Red Bull, and not kind of factoring against that. I think there's been a couple of tyre decisions. There's been pit stops which have gone wrong. There have been times where I feel like Mercedes as a team have dropped points for Lewis. Today is not one of those days, guys. It's not one of those days. In fact, today I was so impressed with what looked like Mercedes had a strategy. They knew, okay, if Max pits early, we're going to go long, we're going to offset. It would have been very easy for them to jump in and try and basically cover off Max, and try and go strategy for strategy. People would have gone at them for doing that. This strategy, I think, on paper was the strategy which was the one that was going to work. But that Red Bull car and Max is not someone who's known for tire preservation, by the way, but he quite clearly kept tires in the bank to be able to keep those couple of tenths that he pulled out here and there in the last 3 laps. Absolutely saved him from being put into DRS. And at the end of the day, it is those 2-3 tenths that he managed to pull out between 53 and 56 at random points that won him the race, I think.
And remember, these are not normal drivers. Max and Lewis are like really at the top of the game right now. Just to give you a feel for what I'm talking about, Checo finished like 35 or 40 seconds behind them at the end of the race. Now, granted, he did have issues with his drinks bottle, which I will account for. I'll say maybe 10 seconds off of his time will be due to that, the physicality of driving without drinks. But still, that's a huge gap. I mean, they were both pushing each other incredibly hard today.
100%.
I was literally going to say Checo did really well today. What do you think about that, Nyasha?
Yeah. He done all right. I'm gonna give the water thing is a madness.
It is.
Yeah. These guys are.
Hot.
Yeah, it is hot.
Sun.
We've gone through it. They've got the helmet, the balaclava thing, the under overalls, the fireproof overalls, the gloves, the socks. Like it's
and it was
a
hot
lot
today.
and
It was
it's
hot today in Austin.
not normally hot when we go to Austin, and it was very, very humid today. So they're sweating a lot. He's very hot. To have no water is obviously going to affect his performance. I think even without that, I don't think that he would have ever been in Lewis's pit window. I do think that the pace, the pace of the front two was just an incredible pace. These two really pushed the pace, and it's happened so many times this season. Those two, when it's those two at the front, in normal conditions, they're pulling away, and they're they're doing what needs to be done. So I guess, having said all of that, um, what does this mean? This is, for me. I'm not gonna lie. Like, I'm hurting a bit. I'm happy. I think the team did well. I think the team done everything they could have, but it feels a bit like how I felt after Austria, and I'm like, if we can't win, I mean, because that was different because of the pace, but it just feels like we put everything into this weekend.
We really needed this weekend.
Yeah, because we're now going into Mexico.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're going into Mexico. Big Red Bull stronghold. Do you think Mercedes? Do you think the W12 will be able to do what Red Bull have done, and I guess thrive in a Red Bull circuit
Yeah,
characteristic?
I hear that. It's an interesting thing. I haven't been doing enough bookkeeping to see where our predictions are and where the actual teams are. It seems like in almost every case, Red Bull seems to be outperforming where we expect them to perform, and Mercedes is usually kind of where we think they are for most of the time. But either they've been beaten by Red Bull that particular case. Turkey, I don't know because it could have been either person's track. What I think is this race, especially, has convinced me just throw the historical things out the window.
Yeah,
Just forget it. Don't invest your time and energy into it anymore. We have enough data at this point to know those historical things aren't really representative anymore. The dynamics of this championship with the aero changes, but also with the change on the power unit side from Honda and Red Bull, we just don't know.
yeah,
So I would say turn up to each individual race and think about winning each individual race as a race. Don't make any assumptions about what we should have and what we can't have and what's ours and what we deserve for a given track. It seems like the correlation this year has been worse than any other year, which is fun for a championship, but
yeah,
makes it a little bit more nervous for some of us.
yeah. For sure. Thandie, keeping the faith. Thandie.
Today I'm very down.
Yeah,
Like 5 more races.
yeah.
How many points behind are we?
12 points.
Kai. Okay. You know what? My goat is my goat.
Yeah,
Whatever happens, this is Lewis Hamilton, a legend amongst us.
yeah.
He's broken records during the season. Yeah, we've got to keep the faith, guys. However, it's not coming home, guys.
Oh my God!
Whoa, wait.
Whoa!
This
Like,
is
I'm just
unbelievable.
I'm
Breaking news.
trying.
Here's what I will say. Here's what I will say about this. I understand where you're coming from, Thandie. I hear you. But here's what I will say. You can't bet against Lewis Hamilton ever.
No, you're right.
Because here's the thing about this. Here's the thing about this man. He's kind of inexplicable, really. There's no he's far better than I can have any rational explanation to explain why he's as good as he is. And he has no give up in him. He just doesn't have it. If there's any chance whatsoever to even kind of grasp a championship, he's going to do it. And historically, he gets better as the season goes on when the championship is closer. Remember, we're late in the season. There could be retirements. There can be clashes. There can be any number of permutations of the things that can happen to swing the championship one way or the other. The 12 points sounds like a lot, especially when the cars are running as consistently as they are. But the fact of the matter is, this is an extremely close championship. It's one of the closest we've had in a very long time. You can't count your boy out. You gotta have it.
God forgive me, Team Lewis Hamilton, forgive me. I'm just, yeah. How dare I say that, guys? Let's
I'm
come
not
back
saying
to
it's
it.
easy. I'm not saying it's easy.
How
I'm just
dare I
saying.
say that? But yeah, it's a scary time. But as I said, my goat still stands, and we go again. We go again. But today
We
I'm going to say we're not blaming anyone.
yes,
It's
I think that's it. I
yeah.
think that's it. I don't think there's anyone.
I refuse to hear anything about strategy or like
Yeah,
anything.
I think
It
you're right.
was what it was.
Look, we've this season we've seen this guy reach 100 pole positions.
Mm,
Okay, we've seen this guy reach 100, 100 wins.
hmm
His career is solidified. And even look, let's say it doesn't happen this year. I'm not that I'm saying it is not going to happen. I will never say that, but I have said that. But I'm not saying it again. Let's say it doesn't. Let's say it doesn't happen this year. It doesn't diminish Hamilton at all, and it doesn't diminish who he is as a racer. I don't think. I think brake magic aside, Imola, and yeah, I mean, brake magic twice has happened, hasn't it? But like, I'm trying to think of pure and then hitting the pit wall in Russia. I think.
There's so few things. The only thing I think of
Yeah.
is in Bahrain, at the very, very end of Bahrain, he did go a little bit wide in one corner, maybe,
Mm.
but we forgot about it immediately.
Oh yeah, exactly. I'm talking pure Lewis Hamilton mistakes are few and far between. This championship, if it is lost, will not be lost because Lewis Hamilton is not the greatest driver of all time. Okay, and I'll put everything. If he doesn't win it this season,
Better tell somebody.
next season it's long for you, man. It's
And
absolutely long for you, man.
Because
So
there's
these
no more
types of
Mr. Nice Guy
no,
next season.
no,
There's no
no.
more Mr. Nice Lewis.
what I was going to say is that these types of championships where you don't have the kind of pace advantage that you would have otherwise really show just how good a driver actually is. When you see, I mean, look, Valtteri he's been better of late for sure, but the differentiator between a good driver and like a legendary driver is the ability to drag results out of inferior machinery. And
Yeah,
when the machinery is really not there, people who are very, very good but not great, they just fall down the order. Where did Valtteri finish today? Like 10th,
he
ninth,
finished. He did finish sixth in the
6th?
end.
He made some places up in the end, but what I'm
Yeah,
saying is that there's no way that he was anywhere close to where I would say Lewis could have been if he had started in the same position. Great drivers pull results out of bad cars.
yeah, and I think Lewis has done that repeatedly this season. I think he's had a worse car than Verstappen for the majority of the season. I think there's been times when the pace has definitely been better. I think this weekend, I would say Red Bull probably had a slight pace advantage, although on the hard tire, it seemed like Mercedes, really did have some pace there, but enough pace to overtake and have that real offset of pace. Who knows? But look, I guess let's go into it. I'll go to Thandie first, and then you, Bryson. Thandie, star of the day. Who's your star of the day?
Yuki Tsunoda.
Ah, let's give a little round of applause for
Yeah.
Yuki. I was happy with
So my boy going. He got top 10. Where did he end up finishing? Top 9th?
Yuki. He was ninth.
Yeah. I'm proud of you, Yuki. I'm proud of you. You know that? Proud of you.
Fatty.
little little pat on the back, I've really been worried about UK. I'm really worried about him. Really worried about him. And he's just had like a couple of really, really shit races. He finished,
Yeah,
and he showed them exactly why he was hired. So good on Yuki.
I think I think Yuki last couple races actually. I think he did well in Turkey. I think he fended off from Hamilton for quite a long period of time in Turkey.
Oh
Showed some
yeah, I do remember that. Yeah,
good defensive skills.
yeah,
I think he he got into the Q3 again this weekend,
still,
and had a really strong race. And he is slowly but surely coming into his own.
yeah.
And it takes time. He's a rookie, probably the least single car experience of the rookies that have come through.
Yeah, I hope he enjoys the States. Gets himself
Yeah.
a couple of little trainers, get himself some
Yeah.
shoes.
Okay. You hopefully he's had some retail therapy alongside the Bryson. Thoughts on Yuki Tsunoda's season, his talent, and yeah, where do you think? What do you think of Yuki?
Uh, I would be lying if I said that I've had complete confidence in Yuki for the entire season.
Yeah.
And I think he himself would agree with that statement as well. I think he obviously has potential, but whatever it is, it just seems like it's taking more time to kind of bring out of him. I definitely think that he had a better weekend this weekend. I definitely think that the influence of Alex Albon is actually helping. It's shocking that it could help so quickly, but I actually do think that having Alex in his corner and telling him what he needs to hear, not only technically but also just as a friend, is a very useful thing. I actually think that the 2022 cars may actually suit some of the newer drivers more than the current F1 cars. And what I mean by that is the F2 cars are like heavy, they have less downforce. They're still very, very quick, but they're nowhere near as performance as the current Formula One cars. The next generation Formula One cars are still going to be far faster than F2, but they're going to have less grip, right? If they're going to make up the lap time, they'll do it in different ways in the current cars. They're not going to have the extreme cornering loads that we see right now. They're still going to be extreme, but not quite so much. And the tires are going to be the low profile tires with the bigger wheels, which F2 has already been running for a while. So I actually have reasons to believe that Yuki and Mick Schumacher and whoever else is running is currently a rookie. I don't care about. But whoever these people are, they will have a better chance. They will have a better time potentially with next year's cars than they are with the current year's cars. Yeah, I think they're going to be fine. And as far as who did the driver of the day, realistically speaking, Max drug a result out today. He should have lost in terms of strategy and things. He should have been beaten by the 7 times champion, and he fought it off. So good for him. I'm not going to say he's driver of the day because I'll get massacred on Twitter, but I will say I will I will say Checo, because I think we know firsthand how hard it can be to drive one of these cars in a physically demanding situation with no drinks bottle. I mean, we saw Lewis on the podium in Hungary; he could barely stand.
Yeah.
And that was Hungary. It was like raining earlier.
Yeah.
So to do that same type of thing in Austin when it's hot is admirable, and you got a lot of valuable points for the team. I've always backed Checo as much as I can. I didn't mention before, but the people who actually convinced me to go to the Indianapolis Grand Prix in '05 were Mexican friends. There's some of my friends that are Mexican,
Ah.
very fanatic about Formula One. I could not say no to them. They wanted me to go, and I just never looked back. So I do always try to back Mexico and Mexican fans when I can, and I think Checo's doing good.
I think
I
so.
think Checo's doing good too. What about you, Nyasha? Do you think Checo's doing good?
He's had a really good couple of races. I think he's been unfortunate with strategy and pit as well.
You're a
I
fan.
I'm
This is
not
what
no
I'm happy to say.
I don't
Yeah,
rate
yeah,
Checo.
I know you don't, but yeah.
I'm not a man. But you know what? Checo's got fans. Yeah, when I slated Checo, someone done something to me that I would love to do to someone else. So that I slated Checo after qualifying last race, right? Because he come like 7th or something. I was like, when are we gonna have the conversation about Sergio Perez? And then someone put like remind me bots, bruv. They'll like remind me about this in 24 hours. And then the mother and then he fought off Lewis and then he ended up finishing on the podium. So and then obviously he's had a good race today. So big up that Checo fan who absolutely owned me. I can admit when I've been owned. Okay,
Hey,
I'm fine.
don't hate on Remind Me Bot. I have Remind Me Bot tweets for like a year from now. Don't even don't even
Yeah,
worry about it. I
but
got it.
I've got a couple remind me.
But now I'm definitely going to be abusing it.
Yeah, no, I've got
Yeah.
a remind me bot on someone. I think about Lewis winning the title that's coming in on December something, and I'm like, oh, I can't find the tweet. I'm trying to delete it, but no, remind me bot's good. Look, yeah, big up Checo. I, I think that if he can keep up this level of performance, and that means qualifying third and being up there with Max, and he's justifying being there. I don't think qualifying in seventh and then always having to do recovery drives is what I would class as being a good second driver. I don't think it's good when Valtteri Bottas does it. I don't think I should rate Checo for doing it at Red Bull. So that's my only beef with Perez. But I think overall, I think we can say it's been a success, and they were right to get him in as opposed to Alex Albon. Is it my star of the day then? There's quite a few, you know.
Oh, really?
There is quite a few. I mean, look, I think you could say well done to. I think Charles Leclerc had a good race. Very lonely, but I think he had a good race. Only finished 10 seconds behind Perez. So I think that's a good performance. I think that Sainz, considering he started on the softs and and had damage from his battle with Ricciardo, I think did well. I am going to give it to Daniel Ricciardo though, because I think he soundly beat his teammate this weekend. And although he did do in Italy during the race, I think Lando had a bit more pace during Daniel in that race. And I think they couldn't do team orders because obviously it would have been peak. But I think this weekend he really does. He did, he's obviously he's loving Texas. He's dressing up. He's got the handlebar moustache. He's just like a walking, talking meme, isn't he? Like it's mad. But I think I just feel happy for him this weekend. I felt like the comedy matched the performance, and we're back at that level where it's okay for you to walk around like an idiot because you're actually performing at a high level. And I think fending off Sainz, who was in a quicker car, pretty rough racing, but I think pretty fair racing in the end. I'm happy for him because I want him to do well. So I probably could have given it to Charles Leclerc, to be honest, but I'm going to give it to Daniel Ricciardo. I think he is, and I think it bodes well for the future. I think if Ricciardo can get to where we think he can be, then that Lando-Ricciardo partnership is for next season, plus the Charles and Sainz partnership. I think, you're looking at, I was going to say potentially the two strongest. We'll see how George gets on at Mercedes next year. But we're looking at some pretty strong driver lineups for next year.
And how close are they in points now, Ferrari and McLaren? Do you remember?
I am going to get the constructors thing up. So when I think it's like a few points. When Sainz was behind Ricciardo, it was 1 point, 1.5 points. But at the moment, here we go, Formula One. Hopefully they've updated it. The gap is 3.5 points.
Wow.
It's very close. I mean, Mercedes are still beating Red Bull by 23 points. But yeah, 3.5 points between Mercedes, Ferrari and McLaren. So that could go either way. My money's probably on Ferrari, the way they've developed their car. I think it's looking very good. Thandie, your thoughts?
McLaren. My money's on McLaren.
You think McLaren are going to do it?
Yeah.
Okie dokie. Bryson?
I know the boys.
I do think that Ferrari has definitely made serious progress with their new energy store. that new like ERS update that they had for the PU. It's really been solid since it's come in. I still think that McLaren has an overall faster car, and because of the way the points are like, non-linear, it's a lot more points for scoring high up than, lower. I think because the McLaren has like the higher highs, like the high the McLaren can reach is actually higher than the high that the Ferrari can reach. I think there might be one or two big results for McLaren towards the end of the season, maybe Jeddah in Saudi Arabia, that would swing the championship towards their favor, especially if Danny Rick is starting to feel himself, as it were.
And look, he is such good, like, just value for F1. So seeing him happy, I think, makes everyone happy, and I think that it's good. It's good to see him happy. I know, Thandie, you're happy. You're happy. If Daniel Ricciardo's happy,
I'm happy, but guys, side note, Bryson, I don't mean to offend you because you're an American. However, I just feel like the entire US GP rollout, the marketing throughout this whole week has been cringe. Down to Daniel's cringy porn stash, down to freaking everyone dressed up as cowboys. It was making me cringe, okay? And then
don't worry, you're not offending me.
Is bringing Shaq out in that whatever the fuck he came out in. And then Shaq gives... I was like, what is going on?
I missed the podium because I was setting this up. And I've seen pictures.
It's extraordinary.
Just handing out trophies. He comes out in his massive car, right?
It was like from Mad Max.
Yeah, it's like a Mad Max car. And he's just being Shaq because the dude's like freaking... BFG.
Look. All I'm gonna say, we're starting to get back into it. The first couple iterations are going to be awkward. Let's just go through that teen phase and just once we get a couple more GP under our belt, we'll be fine. And just to remember, I myself have commented on Formula One's attempt to incorporate American culture. And one thing is, not only is there more than one America, there are many, many Americas.
Yeah.
Texas is just one of them. Even Texans themselves seem to think that what's going on is a slight caricature of their actual city and stuff and state. So there's plenty of cringe to go around. All of us see the same thing. The only thing I'll point out is that Shaq, standing on flat ground, was taller than Lewis on the podium.
I saw that.
Yeah.
And then he was handing out trophies, and Lewis is always cool with everyone, so it's doing Broski's thing. Yeah. I expected everything that I saw from Texas was just everything I expected.
And I missed the grid walk. Did someone tell me that something crazy happened on the grid walk with Martin Brundle?
Let me tell you now, I was very close to giving Martin Brundle Donkey of the Day, yeah? let me tell you this right now, okay?
Hands on my knees, shaking knees, like all that shit. Hands on my knees, shaking
Martin Brundle, yeah, let me tell you now. There's a couple things, yeah, you do not do to rappers, yeah, on the grid. You cannot ask a rapper to drop you a 16 bar, okay? You're not Funk Flex. Okay.
Oh, he rap battled someone. Okay.
He asked Megan to give us a rap, bro. You can't ask Megan Thee Stallion to drop some bars, bro. No, only me. I'm Funk Flex. I've got the bombs. Okay, that's it. Like, you can't. Honestly, I was like Martin. Like, I love you, but
Martin, no, because sometimes you can tell Martin's about to say something stupid.
Yeah, it's like, oh, Dad, don't do it.
As soon as he said, Megan Thee Stallion. I said, oh.
You know what? The problem is, they've gone in his ear. They've gone, Martin, that's Megan Thee Stallion. She's a rapper. And Martin's gone, oh, okay. Megan, give us a rap.
She's a rapper. She's a rapper.
Okay, we'll give us a rapper. You ask her about anything, Martin. And then he like trying to get an interview with Serena, and Serena's just like, she said no once.
Oh, that Serena segment was really.
And then he tried it again, and he's like, "No."
Well, here's the thing: Martin's always had some incredible grid walks. They've always been awkward because they're unscripted. Yeah. So it's not that much of a surprise. All I'll say about it is that I think here's a problem with what Martin did with Megan Thee Stallion. He doesn't ask like Seal to sing on the grid, or like he doesn't ask Ben Stiller to act. Right? He's only doing this to her. There's something fundamentally wrong there that I think a conversation, a fair conversation, maybe over drinks, could help him understand, in that not every aspect of culture can be like broken down into a tiny thing that you can just spit out at one moment. Just let people enjoy the race. They're here for the race, not to talk about work. So that's my take.
And you know what, Sky? Maybe you would have got some bars from Megan Thee Stallion if you had young black people on the grid walking around, and so all these people like Serena Williams, we'd know. I could have got you a Megan Thee Stallion bar. I could do that.
A single bar, at least.
A single, even just like a quick 2-bar. Do you know what I mean?
I would give you the most. That clip would have been viral if it was me.
Yeah. I know.
There are some faces there.
Yeah.
Okay. There were a lot of cool faces. Overall, the grid
I
war.
just saw Young Thug. I don't know if it was him though.
I saw Young Thug. There was a lot. The Burner Boy was there. There was obviously Chris Bosh, who said he was a Hamilton fan, which was nice. Obviously Serena, Ben Stiller, George Lucas. There was a bag of famous people there. It was cool. I feel like Miami is going to be insane.
It definitely will be, and you guys may or may not know that I'm from Miami originally. I'm not sure if I told you that. I don't live there anymore, but I do go home and from time to time. It is going to be pretty extraordinary. I think the thing I'm most excited about is for the wider F1 community to realize that America, the United States, is not synonymous with Texas, right? Like I'm very like they're not going to be able to like do these normal things that they do in an attempt to pay homage to American culture.
Yeah.
It'll be a very different thing. So I'm looking forward to it.
I feel like it's going to be a blacker event. Like
me and Nyasha are definitely gonna make it to Miami.
We're going out there by hook or crook. We'll be there. Don't you worry.
When we have to busk,
bruv. I'm walking.
Live on the internet.
You're gonna walk.
I'm walking
under the ocean.
Yeah, trust me. I'm gonna build like a tunnel. I'm just fucking walking there, bro. Unbelievable. So look, my actual donkey today is not Martin Brundle, but you were very close to it. You know what? Actually, nah. You hold that, Martin. You're my donkey of the day. Bryson, who's your donkey of the day?
I mean, it's Fernando. I'm sorry, it's got to be Fernando. Listen. Fernando is an incredible driver. No one would really question his skill in a broader sense. He gave Lewis Hamilton one of the hardest championship fights of his career, no question.
Yeah.
But the move that he attempted on Kimi, was it Kimi or was it Giovinazzi?
It's Giovinazzi.
Okay. The move that he attempted from so far back, and he so clearly outbroke himself, and then just said, "No, I'm gonna stick this out. Let me just see if I can play around with this." And I'm like, Fernando, I understand that you are making jokes with the FIA about them penalizing and not penalizing people. You're doing your own social experiments to see if you're gonna be penalized. Don't push it, hermano. Don't push it.
Thandie, thoughts on Alonso? I honestly,
obnoxious Severus Snape. He's come to ruin everyone's day. If I see him in my rear view, he's coming to ruin your day. You know that one teacher that used to just harass you in the corridor?
Yeah. You'll be minding your business.
Trust. He's coming to tell you to put your button up or
tuck your shirt in.
You got homework for me? That's him.
No,
comes to ruin people's day. There's nothing great about Alonso right now. Like he actually gets off on it. He gets off on all this.
He's a dickhead. I'm sorry. Yeah, I'm sorry. Like I sometimes, yeah, I will take getting canned on Twitter. I chat shit. Okay, I've run my mouth off. I'm a mouthy guy. I've got opinions. I understand. You might not agree with that opinion, but when it comes to Fernando Alonso, that is the most unreasonable cooking I've ever received. Okay, I did not deserve to get quote tweeted tail because I said that Alonso, what he done in Russia was bullshit, and now we're back again. This guy is supposed to be one of the most naturally talented drivers we've ever seen on the grid. And his whole season now seems to be boiling down to some weird obsession with, well, he done it, so why can't I do it? Like, what the fuck are you doing, bruv? I'm tired of it. I'm tired of it. I'm sorry, yeah. I cannot believe that we uphold someone who's doing this shit. There was no way he ever thought in a million years that racing move, that move on Giovinazzi was going to stick. Just because he got bullied, okay, and Giovinazzi done him over before, he thought, well, I'm going to do him over now. And it's just like, guys, was it Giovinazzi or was it Raikkonen? I can't remember. It must have been Raikkonen, sorry. But, you just can't do that. And I find it just a bit pathetic, to be honest. I just, and his fans love him for it. My goat doesn't do that shit. So if that's what your goat is up to, fair play. He definitely
I
beats
think it's really weird as well. Like, I'd really look at you weird if you were like, "Oh, my Formula One goat is Fernando Alonso." That's a really weird statement to say.
I think it's sus. I think it's
What's
sus.
the closest? Yeah. What's the closest Lewis has ever come to that? Maybe Kimi Räikkönen in Spa in 2008.
2008,
and he gave the place back.
He gave it back, and then he just done him over straight away.
Fully gave the place back, and I would say was wrongly had a victory taken away from him.
Yeah.
But look, I'm not British, but even I was like, come on, bro. Like, come on, bro. Come on, bro. What are you doing, man? You can't, Fernando. That's never gonna work. So I hope he tries to be a little more, behave a little bit more becoming of a champion in the future. I'll just leave it at that.
He's got no class. Anyway, Thandie, your donkey of the day.
Not so much a donkey, but like a Pierre.
Oh, okay. You sad for him?
I'm sad for him. Like I did actually try and think of a donkey today, and I couldn't think of one.
Okay.
But yeah, I was really sad about Pierre.
He's not had some luck recently. His season seems to be going down the shit slightly.
Yeah.
But he's all right. I feel like we all know the talent that Pierre has.
Yeah,
but
that
you're
Pierre
right.
has.
He is.
And I guess Pierre kind of being out gave us, for once, a week where we haven't had a week where we kind of just love on Yuki.
Yeah. It's probably given. Yeah, it's probably enabled. Although Yuki finished ninth, so he would have finished in the points anyway. But it's good for Yuki to get some shine.
Where was Lando today? He was so quiet.
Lando was very quiet today. He was 8th, I think.
He was bare quiet, and this whole rollout, this whole week, like we haven't really seen Lando too tough, like in quali yesterday.
Yeah, no, I mean, look, he was soundly beaten by Ricciardo, and he and today, he had that move, in the beginning where he tried to go around Sainz, and and then he got past Ricciardo, but then Ricciardo got past him, and then I think from that point just didn't really have the pace today to kind of affect. Well, they did finish far off Sainz. Sainz only finished 0.8 of a second behind Sainz, so probably close to passing Sainz, who was obviously on older tyres.
George, where was George?
George, bruv, actually, George Russell, was 14th.
Right.
I want to talk about his helmet.
Right.
Okay? I want to talk about the helmet. I really want to talk about it because I think it's stuff like this, where I just think F1 Twitter sometimes can be like a bit ignorant to people's sensitivities, right? Now, I understand that George Russell having like a fake sheriff theme, okay? I understand that that sheriff's badge isn't just about like law enforcement. It's like a Texas Ranger kind of thing, and it's like an American thing. But
What were you calling him a Fed? Did you
I
call him
was,
Fed on Twitter?
yeah, I literally called him a Fed. Yeah, I called him a Fed. What do you mean, bruv? Like, but this is what
An informant online.
I called him a Fed. I want to, because I want to explain it. Yeah?
Still.
I want to explain it because I think some people were like, he's not, obviously it's not like, if it was the police it would be blue, and it's like a Dukes of Hazzard kind of thing. But like the whole weekend they were talking about as a new sheriff in town, blah, blah, blah. So like the thing is, for a lot of people, if you align yourself with law enforcement in today's day and age, with how law enforcement have treated black people, and with everything that we've kind of gone through in America, especially recently, and we go through in the UK, it just felt a bit tone deaf for me. I felt it was tone deaf. So on my platform, I called him a Fed. I could do that. Okay, there's a reason why we have a platform, is to be able to say stuff like that.
I don't think you're entirely off base with that either. And just to put some context to this, you mentioned the Texas Rangers. Texas Rangers have a history of racial violence. Actually, it's more complicated than people realize. Historically, it's been against Mexicans and Mexican Americans, right, and immigrants. That entire relationship is complicated. I do feel like there could have been a better choice made on George's part. It is insensitive, especially considering where the race was being held in the United States. I just think it could have been better.
Yeah, and this whole year and last year we were chatting about Black Lives Matter. We didn't say Blue Lives Matter. Do you know what I mean?
Well, yeah, we definitely didn't say that shit.
Yeah, here we are now, and we've got him dressed as a. It just wasn't well thought out.
It was really not well thought out.
PRing that day.
It wasn't, and this is what we mean. Yeah, we get pissed off because we have this whole debacle where, fine, some people don't want to kneel, and George kneels, so it's not like he's not doing that, but some people don't want to kneel, and people are saying they're doing their own reading and learning, and they're doing their own work against racial injustice and whatever, but then you see stuff like this, and you see like the We Race as One thing plastered next to this sheriff's badge, and it's like, how much work have you done for you to not realize that is insensitive? Or at best, I'm not saying it was what do you call it? I'm not saying that he'd done it as like an inflammatory thing, but it was a bit cack-handed. Like, do you know what I mean? And for Williams to then just like tweet loads of stuff about it, and for it to be part of like a PR rollout, and considering your teammate next season is A, the only black driver on the grid at the most basic level, but B, literally one of the foremost activists, obviously in the sport, but in the world, it just like smacks of ignorance. I hope Lewis sits him down, and next season he will feel it. I think at the moment he's probably quite cosseted away from that kind of stuff, but next season he'll have no choice but to be in and around that and exposed to that, and I hope he changes.
I don't know all of the details and the dynamics of politics and things in the UK. I only know George as a driver, right? As a person who drives a car. He has a lot of potential, and his development ceiling is high. Yeah. But I agree with you that in order to mesh with the team that Mercedes is, the team that Mercedes has decided to become as a partner with Lewis Hamilton, discussions will really have to be had to at least be on the same page. At least be on the same page as far as what we're trying to accomplish and what's the best way to do it.
That's really well put. And FYI, in the UK, we have obviously two major parties, Labour and Tory. Labour's more like the Democrats, Tory's like Republicans. George is a massive...
I don't know. I have to disagree. There is nothing like the American Republicans.
Oh, yeah. Well,
they are an order of magnitude in a different direction.
I don't know, man. I'll show you some Tories.
I'll tell you about a woman named Margaret Thatcher.
Yeah, I was going to say...
This is not my area of expertise, but but I do
No,
have thoughts.
that's
This
fine.
is
But like, just so you know, George seems like a massive Tory, basically, and it's
Fam,
he looks
those shorts scream
yeah.
tall,
The khaki shorts
mate.
scream.
you're going
Tory.
after man's shorts like that? I didn't
Ah,
know.
look, you must be new to this.
His name is even George Russell screams
Yeah, yeah.
Tory.
Even his little Thunderbird's face. I'm telling you now. Anyway, let's not get at George too much. I love you, George. Just sort your shit out. So, guys, we've gone through an intriguing US Grand Prix, and yeah, I guess we've discussed, what's going to happen. I guess. How do I put this? I guess instead of discussing quickly what we think is going to happen in Mexico, because we really don't know. We never know what's going to happen. I guess what I'll ask is, taking Lewis Hamilton out of it, Bryson, do you think Mercedes have what it takes for the last 5 races of the season to bring the car up to the pace of Red Bull over the course of a weekend? Or do you think we're now settled into a bit of a pattern of the Red Bull being potentially between, a tenth to maybe 4/10 quicker, depending on the track?
I definitely think that the engineers at Mercedes are incredibly talented in working with what they have.
Yeah.
I think that a big part of the reason that they've been able to be as successful as they have been, even now, is not so much the upgrades that they have been putting on, which they have definitely been doing, but running the car differently, running it with different ride heights, running with different rakes and suspension stiffnesses and roll stiffnesses. I think they can pull out something that's marginally competitive at least. But you mentioned leaving Lewis out of it. I don't see how we can. The only way that Mercedes can win that championship for the constructors and even have a shot of doing anything with drivers is because Lewis is an X factor. He has the ability time and again to do things that seem inexplicable and for other people to do. And that's why he is who he is, right? So
Yeah.
he's going to give it everything. I think Mercedes can give him a car to fight with. I do think this circuit dependence is going to be important because altitude is going to be important for Brazil and for Mexico, and just the track layout is going to be very important for Jeddah. And don't forget, they're changing the final sector or the middle sector at the end of it at Abu Dhabi as well. They're changing some corners to make it a little bit more interesting. So we just have to fight is what it really comes down to. Show up on the weekend, maximize every opportunity, every practice session, and just go for it. We'll see where the cars end up.
Can't disagree with that. Thandie, how are you feeling? Are you feeling more positive than you were before we came
Yeah.
on
I
the
definitely
call?
liked Bryson's pep talk to remind me who the hell I'm back in.
Yeah.
So I feel like that is that. I had tweeted guys, I don't think it's coming home. And I tweet it. I don't tend to like to delete tech.
Oh, did you delete it?
I haven't deleted it yet, but I think, do you know what I've been thinking? Everybody who liked it, I'm blocking you because you're clearly up.
It was a trap. It was a trap.
It was a trap.
Nice. I like how you've shifted blame there.
Yeah.
like it's not my fault for tweeting
Not my
it.
fault.
You guys for liking
The
it.
test.
This was a test.
It was a test, but you guys failed. Whoever liked that tweet, you
Mhm.
guys failed.
You
Guys,
failed.
this has been an absolutely lovely podcast. Honestly, yeah, Bryson, your calm and positive demeanor has absolutely
Honestly,
lifted
it is
me
fantastic.
out of a funk because I was very sad. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah.
That Red
Look,
Bull performance
this
was scary.
This was a tough day for Mercedes and for Team LH, but you just got to fight. You just got to fight, and you got to take the chances until there's no chances left.
100%. And you know what, guys? I guess a lot of the people listen to this, but I say I pick out the people who do not support Lewis Hamilton that listen to this blog. You're better.
He's actually someone who commented on our video and was like, I listen and I'm a big Verstappen fan. And I was like,
Yeah.
whoa.
I respect that. Because look, we're not actually that bad. We're worse on Twitter than we are on the podcast. But that's just how it goes. Sorry about that. But yeah, look, we support the greatest driver of all time. It is undoubtedly one of the greatest title races of all time. There's going to be twists and turns. You never know. Look at what happened in Hungary at the first corner. Look at some of Russia and how that changed on the last lap. Like, we really don't know. There's hundreds of laps worth of racing, and we have 125 points up for grabs. I can never do the math on those things, but there's a lot of points up for grabs, and there's only 12 points gap. So
yeah, because Lewis got fastest lap, didn't he?
Yeah, Lewis got fastest lap,
points.
And things like that are going to be important. Valtteri Bottas hopefully will be back up towards the front. Unless he has to take an engine penalty every race. I don't know what's going on with his engines.
Every race.
And to be fair, Valtteri, you're lucky actually. You've not got. I thought we were going to get corned this episode, but we're going to circle the block for you. But you're lucky because going through traffic is an issue for you. I feel like everything we've said about Valtteri, I feel like honestly, if we talk more about this guy, people say we're bullies. But I'm just saying, Valtteri, I saw the performance.
We didn't shoot. We just, cornered in and said, I'm watching you.
We're watching you, bro. You're under surveillance. Okay? But guys, thank you so much. Bryson, where can people find your incredible insight on Twitter? And I know you guys have a Discord as well for anyone looking for technical F1 chat as well.
Yeah, I'm at Natural Paradigm on Twitter almost exclusively. There are a couple of other things that I do, but I'm almost always there. We did start an F1 technical Discord server recently because there are a lot of people who love some of these technical things, but have this hesitation of getting into it because it can be very daunting in certain areas. And I think we're just trying to make a space where if you have content, if you have expertise, you can share that with the people. Generally, people are pretty respectful there. If they're not, I'll kick them. I'm a mod, so I'll kick them.
Yeah.
But if you have a question about, stalling diffusers and flexible rear wings, that's the place to ask. I will repost the link to it on my own Twitter after this is finished, so you can just check the link there and check it out at your leisure.
Sure. We'll stick it in the description as well down there, so don't worry about that, guys. Thank you so much for coming on, Bryson. That was absolutely lovely. Really, really, really enjoyed that. Thank you so much, guys. We're gonna go. Thank you for watching. Subscribe. We hit 400 subscribers the other day. That is sick. Joanne, I'm going to give us the gun horn for that, because 400 subscribers, you have to remember, we only started in March. The first 1,000 subscribers are always the hardest on YouTube. After that is a lot easier. So we really appreciate all you guys who watch, who share, who comment. The little community we have, me and Thandie are honestly so grateful for it. We only, like I said, we only started this 6 months ago. We're still figuring out what the fuck we're doing. But the fact that you guys are there every week with the inconsistent posting times and when I mess up with the microphones, honestly, we really appreciate it. So thank you so much. We will be back after the next race. Is it next week? We've got a gap.
Got a gap.
We've got a gap. We do have a gap. Yeah, we have a gap. So we'll be back on the 7th of November. Wow. We've got 2 weeks. 2 weeks until
November. I'll be gone till November.
Nice. No, thank you for that wonderful Wycliffe rendition. But guys, we'll see you after Mexico. Toodle pip. Goodbye from all of us at Quick Stop. Bye-bye. Bye.